Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Habitat Update episode 5.
Wow, we're already in a 5.
Already in the 5th episode, and it took us a while to get here now. We took a little bit longer, I would say, creative break. But we are back again, and yes, you know, Habitat Update, the podcast about entrepreneurs and Japan, based in and focusing on the Kansai area of Japan with the cities like Kobe, Kyoto, Osaka, and so on. We hope to post every 2 weeks, mid of the week, as a video on YouTube and as an audio only podcast on SoundCloud and Apple services,
Okay.
Apple Podcasts, Apple devices, whatever, fruits. My name is Tugi, and here with me once more, Sabrina. Hi Sabrina, how are you?
Great, Tugi. What about yourself?
Pretty okay. I'm wearing, I just see in the camera now, I look like a tomato again. I'm wearing my red-green combination. It's amazing now.
That's good. You're right in the Momiji mood, maybe.
Which is true, I can wear jackets without melting because autumn is just around the corner. It's getting cooler.
And apparently there's much going on, so I've noticed that after the summer break, it seems like a lot of things are going on at the same time in Japan. So it's definitely a hot time to be here.
Oh, what advertisement. Okay, I see. Let's jump into that. So we haven't posted anything now over almost a month now.
Yes.
And yeah. And things have been happening, of course. One thing I want to mention as an update, once more, I mentioned it in the last episode already, is that we post the audio version, we host it on SoundCloud. Means we are using the free version of SoundCloud, a free account. Means that we can upload, I guess, a limit of 180 minutes at once.
That's so much.
That means then again that with this episode we'll have to remove the first episode with it because just out of capacity. However, that's why I'm uploading everything else on YouTube, because there I have no limits and you can always go back and see all the episodes and you see us actually, and which is much cooler, isn't it? It's good to have a face sometimes.
True.
Then move on. In terms of news, I don't want to go too much into detail these days. There are some things that keep popping up. One of the interesting news is like there's this Infostellar antenna sharing company, which just got some funding, and there's kind of like a buzz going on with space technologies and startups in Japan. Not only are there new startups, but also like Japanese companies like ANA and so on are looking to invest. So space technology is becoming more of a common thing.
Yes, I think in Japan there are many researchers working on it. Last year, or this year, 2017, during a Monozukuri Hardware Cup in Osaka, we had another one also working in that field, and this is a very common concern about space and how we're going to deal with new technologies out of the Earth.
I think one thing, we've been dealing with these topics and problems and ideas for a long time, but I think now things are just more available for everyone. Like, material technologies is much more accessible, and you see even like, companies like SpaceX, which is probably the most famous example, is a privately founded rocket company, and so it's becoming an everyday thing, and we are getting closer and closer to finally become an interstellar species. No, that's the dream of all of us. No,
maybe, I don't know. Are we gonna have a planet before that?
Are we gonna go colonize?
Yeah.
New planets and so on. Space and sci-fi movies. We watch them all, and at some point we'll find Jedi Knights. Not sure if that's in the same universe. Firefly Galaxy. Anyway, let's not get into this. Let's move on. One interesting thing I saw is like a startup company called Amazing, and they are providing free SIM for foreigners, for tourists visiting Japan.
Wow.
It's actually a cool service. access to SIM cards and phone numbers in Japan has always been kind of like a troublesome thing. As a foreigner, it's very easy now these days to get actually something for a certain short period, but as a resident, and believe it or not, there are still no prepaid options. You know, no contract options are not available.
For long term, right?
For long term.
It's only for short term that's focused on tourists.
Yeah, so only tourists can kind of like get a prepaid number. And then you think, why you don't get a prepaid number after another? Well, you keep changing then the number, right? It's a bit not so sustainable. Talking about sustainability, wow, what a what a segue, ne? There's been quite some movements going on in Kyoto recently. We've been hearing now from different friends, like sustainability is becoming a topic here in Kyoto with some meetups and things like the Singularity University initiative trying to tap in here, and so people are concerned about green cities and I don't know, what was it? One of the bigger topics is like indoor farming.
I think it's good to notice that Kyoto the city is known for the Kyoto Protocol. So that's a very important world moment, the Kyoto Protocol signature. And I think Kyoto still nowadays has been known for those best practices in sustainability. So then it's not surprising, but it's good that is happening, and it's I think it's now that Japan is getting more global visibility thanks to the Olympics and the tourist income. I think the inbound tourism is very interesting.
True, I haven't thought about the Kyoto Protocol, but it makes sense. Né? Talking about Japan is becoming kind of like the playground, it's also continuing to be the playground, it seems like, for fintech.
Really?
Seems like the whole world is kind of like interested to come here and experiment with the new opportunities you have here with the easier legislations and
opposed to other Asian countries, right?
Not just Asian, even Western companies.
Yeah, but I think in Asian, other Asian countries now, there's a movement against certain technologies, and Japan is pro Bitcoin and
blockchain technology. Okay. Yeah. What else happened last month? The announcement. Kickstarter is now live in Japan. They started, I guess, around September 13th.
Great! Wow.
So if you want to back Japanese projects, well, go check it out.
And if you also want your, it's good that Japanese early adopters can now also access directly your projects.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's also a good market to have Kickstarter in Japan. I think it's good to understand what consumer habits and trends are in terms of Asia, because Japan, it has been a great platform to test new products. So I think I've seen a lot of Asian tourists coming here to shop. So it is a trend of new technologies. So you go to all the department stores. Asian tourists come to Japan to see what's the next.
The next trend.
Yeah.
But this is very interesting. Sometimes you wouldn't expect that because you think in some areas very conservative, and in other areas they seem to set trends.
Yeah, but I think that has been the main duality in Japan. The traditional and the modern have been coexisting in sometimes completely two separate worlds, but you can find them in the same street.
And talking about traditional and the modern and about updates and news, let's make a move with that topic into what I call habitat or inhabitants. Kyoto Makers Garage. Yes. Officially live now.
You didn't even let me say that I have a great news, because I always do, right?
Let's pretend now. Okay, say it.
So I have a great news.
Tell me about it.
I'm so excited to share that we just opened with Makers Bootcamp, the support of Kyoto City and Kyoto Research Park, the new makerspace in Kyoto.
Oh my god, I didn't know that.
It's called Kyoto Makers Garage and it's near Kyoto Research Park. and it's a co-working space, an event space, but mainly a maker space.
Just real quick, when we are at the location now, it's located near the Kyoto Research Park. For someone who doesn't know, maybe as a reference, from the not airport, from the Kyoto train station, the main station.
It would be northwest.
How long?
It's one station. It's near JR Tambaguchi.
JR Tambaguchi station.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute, I think, ride. So
from the Tambaguchi station
to Kyoto station.
Oh, okay, bike ride.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, by train.
By train.
Yeah.
So
by bicycle, it will be 10 minutes.
Okay.
Like that.
So let's recap this so everyone understands. From the Kyoto station, JR station, main station, you
take a train.
Which takes 5 minutes to go to Tambaguchi. From Tambaguchi, you have to walk maybe 10 minutes more.
8 minutes, exactly.
Exactly 8 minutes. And if you go by bicycle from the Kyoto station, it's about 10 to 15 minutes.
I think what I liked about the area, it's a little bit like the central market of Kyoto. That has been through a lot of changes, so most of those buildings there have been abandoned for quite a while, but we see a new reoccupation and urbanization of that area. With us, we have on top of Kyoto Makers Garden the second and the third floor Reddit. It's redo yourself. It's a craftsman and maker space focused on wood. So then that's an area that we would like to promote more, those kind of things. And the main advantage for makerspace, especially in Japan is a country that is very noisy sensitive. That means in general, in most of the neighborhoods, you cannot be very loud unless you have a lot of equipment and isolation for soundproof materials.
It's not just, I wouldn't say it's just about, not just about the noise, but in general, like, you know, cities in Japan tend to be very dense populated.
Yeah, so there are not many spaces like that area.
Who has the space to have a working bench to work with like craftsmanship type of things and like let alone like have tools somewhere and so on, you know.
And we had an amazing event. Well, we had the opening ceremony. The next door to the space there's a huge barbecue area, so we hosted over I think 160 visitors on that opening ceremony.
So
Mayor of Kyoto was part of it and many other partners. We also are trying to bring foreigner startups to bring maybe solutions that might be suitable for small and medium enterprises and local businesses in Kyoto. So that's the main idea of having this. And it's also near Kyoto Research Park.
So, cool, interesting location, new initiatives, and cool party.
And
if I want to join, a cool makerspace. If I want to join, so who can join? How do you join? How much do you pay?
Well, this is an open community, so everyone can join. We have a membership system. So for members that are considering coming working with us, for members that are students, it's free of charge.
Okay.
So when Kyoto with 38 university and institutions, we would like to make this more student oriented, or we want to bring the youth to try things. So that's why we are making this free of charge for students.
You actually had even like one of the first events was a craftathon event. We mentioned it, I guess, last time as in the event section. It was very interesting to see all these. It was a event for students, a craft hackathon, basically.
Yeah, organized by Design Week Kyoto.
Yeah, Design Week Kyoto, and it was very interesting to see. There were quite a big group, and all very motivated. And the topic was, I guess, reuse of ceramics.
Rethink some of the challenge for ceramics.
Yeah.
And we had a master of ceramics from Kyoto that was guiding the work, so it was very interesting to see they could work and mess around with ceramics. So that's the main advantage of being in that kind of space.
So free for students. How about others?
So for the co-working space, for members pay a monthly fee of 5,000 yen. Any tool you pay per hour in the makerspace area. So we have 3D printers, CNC machines, and also laser cutter. It's 1 hour 1,000 yen.
Okay.
And for no members who just want to be around, tested, drop in,
Okay.
1,500 yen a day, and also any to 1,000 yen per hour. So like we are trying to make it as accessible as possible. Our idea is have more people trying things.
Good. So everyone who is around who should drop in. We have to move on. I'm sorry.
And the materials included.
Let's move on. This is one of the many spaces we have here in the Kansai. So if I want to go and see what is more around, who are the main players, what are the people, what are the locations, we have now a good platform for that.
Yes, it's a scrapbook, and Hacker News Kansai is starting compiling, putting everything together on this wiki. It's like a panel that you find as would be in a dictionary or encyclopedia, but it would be more than a dictionary, as an encyclopedia. You find all the information as you would find on Wikipedia, but it's all about local players, local startups, co-working spaces, and also people involved. So sometimes you want to see how can I learn about this technology or those things. You just go there and start a search.
Check with people,
Using the keywords, the search is very easy and fast. Anyone can join. You can add your personal information, your company.
That's the most important thing, I would say, because it's not just by one person selecting and doing it. Now everyone can actually log in there and contribute and add content. And as I am trying to a little bit support on the startup side, then we have someone else who's going around, I guess now, entering like gaming people from around the area. We have Martin. He basically visited, he did nothing else the last couple months but visiting maker spaces, co-working spaces, and just updating the pages and adding and Kyoto Makers Garage is now there as well, which is really cool. So it's a cool source.
If you have any doubt, just find the README file on the homepage.
Yeah, there's a README file.
And then you
it
just
tells you how
follow
to do things.
Yeah, it's easy.
And we manage to do it. We are no tech freaks in that sense, so you can manage to do it as well, listener out there. Let's move on. So before we get to the events, what do you do at events?
Well, that's a good question. It depends. How good are you at speaking Japanese?
Yeah, wait, just a minute. We're not talking about Japanese yet. I just wanted to kind of like make the bridge to networking.
Okay.
So I want to make this a little bit the topic here. We go to so many events, we talk about them, we recommend events to our listeners and viewers. Let's talk about networking. First of all, general, not necessarily focusing on Japan, like networking is a thing. Not some people love it, others have really difficulties going to these events, mainly because they just don't like to talk to people. But I can say, as someone actually being like one of those who not necessarily likes to spend too much time talking and with small talks, I have to say, turns out networking is very useful. How is your approach? What is the sense for networking for
I don't
you?
have problems
do you like
to socialize, and I really like people. So for me, I don't see anything bad about networking. It just takes time and energy to listen first, and then see how you can somehow find some empathy with that person, and from that on, I think things are pretty natural. I've never think about any logic behind it. Just try to be nice to everyone and see what you can learn from others.
Yeah, but that's a very good example here, because some people think like, oh, networking event, there might be this, I don't know, famous guy, this manager from this company, whatever, or like some people just go there and try to promote themselves all the way. And I don't think this is how it should be done. I mean, of course, you should be prepared. You should have a goal in mind, and if you have an ongoing project, the elevator pitch has to be ready. I meet people sometimes and then ask like, so what are you doing? So, I have this thing, and then when you go there and, it's based on, and then actually comes from it. So you lose me in the first 10 seconds. And the first 10 seconds, it's there to get the attention and basically explain everything. So have that ready, but then again, don't go around just bragging and asking people for help or for support or for investments in your company.
Yeah,
I think it is important to, as you said, build up empathy, just meet people.
Yeah, I think it's first of all, if your purpose is as a startup, as an entrepreneur, getting some kind of feedbacks or funding, make it clear since the beginning, and go straight to the point. I mean, like, don't take everyone's time during the entire session. Don't waste people's time. So I think that part is very important. I see a lot of events where the speakers or the chance of good networking might be wasted for attendees that are not aware of the purpose of networking.
Yeah. I would say my recommendation, and that's where I made the best experience, is go there not, as I said, not for your own interests, but see how you could help others.
Yeah.
Because once you start connecting people, once you start helping others, they start helping you too, and you kind of like, your name makes the round, right?
Yeah. I think
and people notice you.
Yeah, I think in having good relationships, even with some people you might not be very familiar with, or just first sign you wouldn't necessarily feel much in common. That's the main challenge, and that's the most interesting part of networking.
Mm-hmm.
So then you find connections that you wouldn't get in 5 minutes of talks, but you listen first and then you see how it goes. I think I never had a science behind it. So.
No, you just approach. You're a natural talent.
Well, it comes from my Latin American humanities.
You like to talk a lot. I see. But yeah, one thing I mentioned in the beginning, I want to say in that sense, from coming from someone who sometimes thinks like, oh, this small talk again. I mean, it makes no sense, right? Like, you just waste time about nonsense topic which doesn't lead to anywhere. Not true, actually. I mean, sometimes you can just end up doing small talk, saying like, I don't know, oh, these mosquito bites I have everywhere, right? And then the other guy says, yeah, I had similar issues, but I know this guy is working on this project.
Yeah, many
Stupid
ways.
example, but even small talks can, first of all, make each other understand more, find maybe a common base, and then again lead to other topics, other people, new introductions.
I would say without the first small talk, you never get to the next talks.
But yes and no, let's make the bridge now to Japan, where the situation, compared to global Western standards, is a bit different.
Yeah, well, in anywhere else, you only give your business card after you make sure that there is some kind of connection or purpose of giving this business card. And here in Japan, it's more about once you introduce yourself, you give the business card, and then I see sometimes events people just pass by and collect business cards and go somewhere else, and which for me might be a pity, because I wish I could actually exchange something with that person. But it's just a matter of culture. I'm pretty used to it now. Sometimes, like I said, from vacation I came back, the first sign that I was like, when in Brazil we say, if you go back to work after vacation, if you cannot remember your computer password, that means you were on vacation. In Japan it's like, I lost my business cards case, so I couldn't find it. That means I totally forgot about business cards, right?
That's good, so you disconnected.
Yeah, but that's part of the culture. So once you feel like you don't have business card, if something is always missing, so it's gotta be always there all the time for everyone.
So that's true. I can just reassure that for me it was strange at first to see like you have basically without a business card you are no one here. Even students, even like school kids, I believe, have business cards, and just because it's a common thing, and that's a recommendation for everyone who wants to do or even visit and
even
build
if an entrepreneur
connections
or
here.
you're a student, just try to make it. Maybe they want to see the way your name is spelled, want to have your email, or understand. Sometimes there's a language misunderstandings, or so the business card. I think in Japanese also to see how the kanji is spelled is very important. So there are different needs. Now that I've been here for quite a while, I can understand.
Definitely. And in that sense, like, yeah, it seems like, oh, the barrier to get to know someone is very low, you know, whereas in West you have to talk, build up something, and then maybe if you have common interests, you exchange business cards. Here you exchange business cards, but doesn't mean you're, like, it's a start of something, and then you still maybe have to meet this person at other events, or maybe follow up, right, and see if there's a common interest, right? So you have to do a bit more than research afterwards.
True.
It's a bit more difficult.
It is. It takes more energy. Networking in Asian countries takes more effort.
And you need a business card management tool, which there are here, right? So like
There are startups,
yeah,
right?
focusing on that. So make sure to have business cards with you if you come to Japan as an entrepreneur, as a tourist, I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be the fanciest ones, you know, you can just do a simple print. Just to have your name, what you do, your webpage. Great, interesting. Now that we are equipped for events, let's talk about events.
I'm ready. Where's my business card?
Oh yeah, there's also like an etiquette how to exchange business cards, but we talk about this another time. Events. We mentioned already past events we attended. The Kyoto Makers Cards opening, that was really cool. The Crafthon event for students was very interesting. We been to the Pechakucha night in Kyoto.
Yeah, that was great. Great event.
That was really interesting. Like, not necessarily about startups, tech, but like you meet every now and then people doing their own things, and which is kind of like
You meet
entrepreneur
many
thing as well,
entrepreneurs.
right?
Yeah. Or the entrepreneurs talking about their passion or their side project.
Yes.
If that is possible, to be an entrepreneur, have a startup and have another passion or a side project.
Some people manage to do. Then the startup weekend by Kyoto Institute of Technology,
That was
D-Lab,
great,
in
yeah.
collaboration with, I guess, Kyoto Research Park as well. That was very interesting, was cool. The winner out of this was a group called Blockchain Girls.
Mhm.
They came up with an idea to use blockchain as a platform to apply for universities. So all your records and your certificates are tracked there. So you don't have to share like a huge stack of paper all the time with the administration of the
Scan
university.
your
And
certificates
scan and send like
grades.
across. Yeah. Startup Summer School Demo Day.
Kyoto Summers.
Kyoto
Startup
Summer School Demo Day. Also very interesting. We had Alan Miner, the CEO of Sunbridge, talking there, and he got engaged in some really cool talks I was listening to, and in the networking session. And what else do we have? We had last week the Techinasia Japan in Tokyo, one of the bigger startup events.
Yes, one of the.
The Osaka Innovation Hub attended with some startups. They actually even sponsored, I guess.
Yeah.
Big event, you can read about it. Known speakers, known topics, discussions, panel discussions, and so on.
And also they had matchmaking sessions.
Of
with
course,
startups.
yeah. So investors, startups, companies, place to meet, to exchange.
Yeah.
Any other events?
Yeah, I've been to the Smart City Expo Kyoto.
Okay.
So in the celebration of a 20th anniversary of Kyoto Protocol, the topic this year was regions and industries creating a sustainable and livable future. I would say that basically the expected, the large corporations, all the big names in Kansai were there. It was a lot of hardware devices, robots, technology, but I still miss more startups. Basically, I believe that it was not accessible to startups, and the purpose of the event still is not a startup. But as I heard from other startups, smart city expos, there are other hubs in the world that are partnering in using startup solutions to make the event a little bit smarter concerning smart city.
Okay.
But one good outcome is that Quebec City members came to sign an MOU with Kehana to in a cooperation between Kansai institutions, universities, and industries with local Quebecois, Canadian institutions. So then they are like trying to focus and match co-creation projects, and that's exactly the trend and the way Japan should go. And I was very happy
Build up new
to realize that.
partnerships,
Yes,
joint projects.
and Keihan already signed last year an MOU with ERA, the
New York.
Entrepreneur Round Table Acceleration.
Yeah.
And so they are very into connect, and that's great because it's what we miss. But they don't make a lot of marketing out of it. But I think they should, because that's how people know about them. So if you're a student, an entrepreneur, you might be interested to do some collaboration. Just check what Keihana has been doing around here.
Great. I should put then the link on somewhere here or maybe in the descriptions. Talking about smart cities. That's a good way to talk then about this one here. Osaka. Oh yeah, the people listening to the audio only, they don't see the sheet here, but I'm holding up the sheet for Osaka. It's a startup entrepreneurship event, yearly event. It's not taking place very soon. It's in February 2018, but the application period for startups ends October 31st. So if you're a startup in smart cities, health tech or travel tech, go on the page. I'll put the link in the description. Go on the page, apply, and one of the members, well, gets basically the trip paid. And you can come here, you can pitch on stage, you can win or at least get new connections.
And feedbacks.
And feedback from the Asian market, from the Japanese market. And you never know who you might meet and exchange cards with, right?
Yeah, and if you're based in Japan and you have a hardware startup, you can also apply. Pretty soon, the applications are not open yet, but be aware that we're going to have also the Monozukuri Hardware Cup, the Hardware Cup competition for hardware startups in Japan.
Cool. Good. Let's move on. Next. Okay, next upcoming events. We have a Global Venture Habitat meetup on October 11th with Mark Kato. He's the CEO at Silicon Valley Japan Business Consulting and is helping Japanese and American clients to initiate and expand their businesses between US and Japan. October 11th, Wednesday. Then we have on October 13th, Friday, the Kyoto Indie Meetup. It's a indie game developer meetup. It's been taking place for a while now. Then October 14th, Saturday, we have the Global Venture Habitat Startup Camp Demo Day in Osaka.
At Osaka Innovation Hub.
At Osaka Innovation Hub. After that, on Monday, October 16th, we will have a Makers Bootcamp Monozukuri Hub meetup.
Yes, at Kyoto Makers Garage. And the topic will be very interesting. It's how to start over. So if things don't work as you planned, how to move on. And we're going to have a maker tour. It's a world group of makers documenting the event and telling about what they've learned from Makerspace and all over the world.
Okay. Same week on Tuesday, next day actually, October 17th, we have a event at Wonderlab Osaka. It sounds like an amusement park. Wonderlab. It's a And there will be a German guy talking about the European startup scene.
Okay.
Following that, on October 20th to 22nd, Friday to Sunday, there will be a startup weekend in Kobe.
Wow, Kobe.
And I saw that some of the tickets were sold out already for participation, but still some open slots for students to join.
Great.
Then, October 27th, Friday, we have the Hacker News Kansai meetup in Kyoto. They meet every month in Kobe, Osaka, Kyoto. They change cities every month between these three.
Mm-hmm.
And this time in October it will be in Kyoto. Don't miss that one. And well, that's more or less it from my side. Do you have any? Did I forget anything?
No, we might have other events for Kyoto Makers Garage, but we can save it for the next.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we can never cover all the events, and I'm a little bit focusing on the ones that might have English content in case of, you know, if you're a listener out there and you're here even on vacation, you might want to join. Otherwise, I encourage you also to check the meetup.com. You find some interesting events there which are not in our scope, meetups like language exchange and so on and so forth.
PTX also has content in English.
PTX, yes, but people, yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna share the links as usually, and let's move on to my favorite section. I call it Habitat Echo. Why are you laughing?
Because it's an echo. Because echo, you're like in a cave alone and you say things and you listen to yourself. So that's how I feel.
Maybe I should rename this one. I just noticed. I didn't think about that one. No, it should be... Wow. Well, no mails, no tweets, nothing. In case you have a question about working with entrepreneurs here in Japan, about anything really that might relate somehow to us, let us know. Send an email, tweet at us, or just, come to Kyoto and visit us.
That's the best option, for sure.
And in general, actually, we are also talking about networking, right? Both of us, we are actually very open to help.
Sure.
Do you have anything to add, Sabrina?
That's all from today.
Okay, good.
It's been a great time to talk to you.
Good.
Hopefully in the next episode we have new amazing events going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Habitat Update, episode 5, the podcast about entrepreneurs in Japan, based in and focusing on the Kansai area, with the cities Kobe, Kyoto and Osaka.
Yeah.
Posting every 2 weeks, probably, midweek, as a video on YouTube, and as an audio-only version on SoundCloud and Apple Podcast. And I'll be removing the first episode on the audio only. You can find them still on YouTube.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.